financial solutions to our citizens, coupled with technical assistance and advice, and with the ultimate goal of poverty alleviation in mind. This can only be possible if we provide them with sustainable energy solutions. Modern life depends tremendously on the use and existence of fossil fuels. Unfortunately, these fossil fuels leave behind irreversible climate changes. We should act now to become less and less dependent on fossil fuels and become more dependent on renewable energy sources. There are some good reasons for that. Pollution is becoming a huge problem in many countries around the world, especially the developing countries, even though they are the least users of these fossil fuels. With carbon emissions at an all-time high, air quality has deteriorated in several parts of the world. Some children do not have anymore the luxury of enjoying counting the number of stars they can point out in an evening clear sky. The consequences are numerous: poor health, shortened life expectancy, cancers, and of course, global warming, climate change including droughts, floods, and desertification. And yet, the potential of renewable energy is huge, especially in our country. Hydroelectric power, generation, solar energy, wind energy, gas energy, and even fuels. We have some examples that are starting to come in the country. So it is with a great pleasure that we receive in our country the REACT project that is going to help us face this challenge of reducing the dependency on fossil fuels and increase our dependency on renewable energies. It is great to see so many people around, men and women, who are keen and ready to address this urgent and noble cause, and we are proud to be with you. On behalf of the management of BRD and your managing director who could not make it today, I wish all to work hard to make a better world for all of us and also mainly for future generations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prosper, for those good and kind words. And I can bear him out that as I was speaking to the guests who are here, I think it is to hear, I was saying earlier on, that here in Rwanda, we actually run, we do not walk. While others can afford to walk, here in Rwanda, we actually run. So they will find that REACT project here in Rwanda will receive the uptake will be quite good. They will see a lot of interest and support even from the government. I'm sure you will hear of that. So it's a good place for you to be in at this time. So without wasting a lot of time, let's hear from the head of DFID, Elizabeth Carrier. Thank you.
A lot more people here since I sat down. That's great to see. Madam Permanent Secretary, colleagues, members of the AECF, leading representatives from business, members of the press, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really pleased to welcome you here today on behalf of DFID. We all know that poverty reduction in Rwanda and in the region depends on sustainable economic growth. In countries where cheap carbon is not available domestically or is highly likely to become unaffordable in the future, countries must plan growth paths that are both low carbon and that can withstand the risks of climate change and climate variability. The government of Rwanda knows this well and is committed to a low carbon development approach to withstand the challenges of the country's vulnerability to climate change and extreme climatic events. Next week, the government of Rwanda, with our support, will be launching a new program to produce a national climate change and low carbon development strategy. Of course, making a low carbon growth a reality here in Rwanda and in other countries across the region requires the strong engagement by the private sector. We are therefore delighted to be supporting this African Enterprise Challenge Fund for Renewable Energy and Adaptation Technologies. That's a very long title. Because this approach aligns strongly with our own, and importantly, the government of Rwanda's priorities to encourage and support private companies' participation in reducing poverty in a sustainable way, in a way where gains are not washed away by extreme climatic events such as floods or storms, or by big fluctuations in fuel costs. Of course, this will only work if all of us make it work. Therefore, I urge you to take up the challenge, apply to the fund, and join us in building a more sustainable and resilient economy and future for Rwanda and for the region. Let me close then by taking a few liberties with the AECF logo to make a point. I mean, look at this. This is a beautiful logo. It's got all the ingredients. It's got the green, it's got the idea, it's got the energy, it's got Africa. But if you'll notice, there's a little bit missing. And this is the bit for you in participating in the Challenge Fund can complete. So I did take liberties with your logo to make that point. Thank you.
Funding is there. DFID is supporting this effort. So what we need to do is to find out more about it, to become interested, and then to apply for these funds. They are there. So both the donors and the government, they are supporting that. And so to hear more about the details of AECF and specifically the REACT project in Rwanda, let's hear from the director of AECF, Mr. Hugh Scott.
Just give me a second to get the presentation back, if you will. We got it. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Industry, Marie-Claire Cassini. The head of DFID in Rwanda, Elizabeth Carrier. Prosper from BRD, ladies and gentlemen, the private sector and everybody else that is here this morning, good morning to you. I am delighted to be back in Rwanda. This is not a country that I've not visited. As Richard Mugisha over there on the table on the left will remember, I used to come about every 6 to 8 weeks for about a couple of years to Rwanda, and I'm delighted to be back. I haven't been here for 2 years, but I'm very fond of this country, and I believe that what we have on offer for you today can make a difference to Rwanda. What I'm going to do is going to tell you a little bit about the AECF. I'm going to start by introducing you to it as a whole, to explain a little bit about what the AECF does on the African continent, and then I'm going to focus on the specific competitions. Even though we're here particularly to launch one, we actually have two available to you. Is the sound fine? I can hear it echoing a lot. Am I speaking a little bit loud for the eyes? All right? Good. Okay, before I start, I always like to know my audience just a little. So if those of you from the private sector would like to put up your hands, it would give me an idea of what my audience is. So who's from the private sector here? Oh, because this is for the private sector, it's not for anybody else. But the rest of you are, of course, welcome, including the press and the others here this morning. Okay, what am I going to cover? I'm going to take you on a whistle-stop tour of the AECF, what we're about, our aims and our objectives, what type of businesses we support. A little bit about our performance to date, partly because we're very proud of it, but partly I think it gives you an idea of our scale and our operations. And then I'm going to talk to you about two competitions, AECF RIB and AECF React. Madam, I'm not going to use the long term, that's just React is good enough for us. I agree with the We're going to stop then and I think have a press conference and things, but my colleague Anjali Saini, who's with me, who is a renewable energy specialist, will follow this with a much more detailed presentation on the React competition itself. And the idea of that is to really have a very good Q&A session so you understand we're here. And even after that, we're very happy to stay around and take your questions individually and talk to either Anjali or I. Having said that, please don't talk to me about carbon credits. I don't know a lot about them. That's why Anjali is here. Okay. So what is the AECF? Basically, for once in, I don't know, for a long time, I think, the donors have made available a basket of money that is available to the for-profit private sector only. It's not available to government, it's not available to the NGOs, it's not available to associations or trusts or groups. It is available only to the for-profit private sector. The AECF actually doesn't exist. We're here, we have a logo, we're very proud of ourselves, but it's not a legal entity. We actually fall as a special partnership initiative of the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa. I imagine all of you would know about AGRA. Do you know about AGRA? No. Who knows about AGRA? Some. Okay. The Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, very quickly, is chaired by Kofi Annan. When he left the United Nations, one of his dreams was to make a difference in Africa to agriculture, and he chairs this. It is funded by Bill Gates and Rockefeller and various others, and we are a special initiative of AGRA. We are funded, the AECF is funded by a number of donors, specifically DFID, the Dutch government, IFAD, the Australian government, CGAP, and we hope before the end of the year by Danida as well. But the two competitions you're going to hear about this morning are actually funded solely at this time by DFID, and we're extremely grateful for that. We should say UKAID now, should we, or DFID? One or the other.